Alright, hey there ladies and gents. Today we're going to be covering order of operations, section 1, 2 in your algebra book, and it begins on page 10. Alright, the first word that we are going to learn today is evaluate, and evaluate is just a fancy word for solve. So if you came across a problem that looked like this, 2 to the 4th power and 4 to the 5th power, and it said to evaluate, all it wants you to do is to find the result when you do this. Keep in mind that when you do 2 to the 4th power, it is not saying 2 times 4. The answer is not 8. Alright? Don't do that. Bad. What this is saying is 2 multiplied by itself 4 times. And when you do that, you get 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8, times 2, which is 16. So that would be the correct evaluation for that problem. The next one says 4 to the 5th. Once again, this is not 4 times 5. Okay? This is 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. When you do that, you should get, if my math is correct, 1024. Next thing we're going to do, which I'm pretty sure that you've tackled in other grades, is called order of operations. And order of operations is just the order that we do things when we have many different operations that we need to do in order to evaluate a problem. So the mnemonic device that is really common is PEMDAS, which is PEMDAS, and each one of those letters stands for something that you're going to do in that order. The P stands for parentheses, so we're going to make sure that in any problem we do that first. After we do the parentheses, we're going to do the E, which is the exponent. So any exponents that we might have in our problem, we're going to do those after we do our parentheses. After that, the third thing that we're going to do is the M and the D, multiplication and division. And if we have both of those, we work our way from left to right. And then lastly, our A and our S, or addition and subtraction. Again, just the same as multiplication and division, we're going to work our way from left to right. I know that sounds like a lot, and it's not really easy when to put into words, so let's try some examples. Alright, here we have a problem. It says evaluate 16 minus 8 divided by 2 to the 2nd power plus 14. Some people would want to solve this from left to right and just do 16 minus 8 divided by 2 squared plus 14, but that's not the correct the right way to do it. The right way to do it is by using the order of operations. And so we need to use PEMDAS. In PEMDAS, the P stands for parentheses. So I look at my original expression here, and there are no parentheses, so I can just skip that P and I can go to E. And the E stood for exponents. And when I look at my expression, I do see that I have an exponent. It's 2 squared, so that has to be the very first thing that I do. You can see that here in pink. So I will do 16 minus 8 divided by 2 squared plus 14, and I will do the exponent first, and I will evaluate that, and I will get 4. That's where the 4 in green comes from. Okay, from there, I moved to my M and my D in PEMDAS, and the M and the D stood for multiplication and division. So I need to go through my expression now, and do I have any multiplication and division? I sure do. I have 8 divided by 4. When I do that, I get 2, which you see in the yellow. So then I'm left with 16 minus 2 plus 14, and the very last part of my order operation was the A and the S, or addition and the subtraction. Of course, I have some in my expression. I have 16 minus 2 plus 14. So what do I do first? Well, don't forget you have to work from left to right when you're on addition and subtraction and multiplication and division. So I'm going to do that, and when I do that, I get, starting from left to right, 16 minus 2 is 14. Bring down what I didn't use, the plus the 14, and now I'm just down to a regular addition problem, and I get 14 plus 14, and that is 28. So when I evaluate this expression, if I do it correctly using the order of operations, I'll get 28. If I don't use the order of operations, I'll get a completely different answer, and that answer would be wrong. Okay, here's one for you to try on your own. I put PEMDAS down the side in order to serve as a reminder in case you might need it. Pause the video and see if you can use the order of operations to correctly solve this expression. If you did it correctly, you would have started with your exponents because there are no parentheses, and you should have had 20 minus 7 plus 64 minus 7 times 11. Then you would have moved on to your multiplication and division, and you only have one multiplication problem in this expression, and that is 7 times 11. So you would have put 77, and then you would have written the rest of your expression that you didn't use, like that. And then you would have seen that you are in addition and subtraction, and you would have worked your way from left to right. So you have 20 minus 7 is 13 plus 64 minus 77. 13 plus 64, again, working from left to right, is 77. And then you would have had minus 77. And you should have came up with the answer of 0 if you use the order of operations correctly. Another thing that they're going to throw at you are brackets and parentheses, and the thing to remember is that it's key to work your way from the inside out. Okay, so here we have, still following PEMDAS, we have brackets and parentheses, so we see the brackets and we need to look inside the brackets first. Just ignore the 6 for right now. Then, once we're looking at the brackets, we're going to do what's in the parentheses first. So I have inside my parentheses 3 plus 2, and when I do that, I move down here to my red, I get 5. Okay, still keeping it within the brackets. That's where I need to keep my focus for now. I move on to my exponents, and I see that the 5 is squared. So when I do that, I get 25 down here in blue, 32, minus 25 because it's in my brackets, which kind of serve as a parentheses. I need to do that first. 32 minus 25 is 7. And then I have just 7 times 6. And when I do that, I should get an answer of 42. I realize that's kind of fast and furious, but the more you do something, the more you practice it, the better you'll get at it. Okay, here's one that I'd like you to try on your own. Don't get scared just because there are fractions in this. It's still order of operations, and it is still solvable. Pause the video and see what you get. If you solved it correctly, you would have started with your parentheses using PEMDAS. You would have started with 4 plus 5, and you would have got 9. You still have that exponent, so leave that. And then on the bottom, you would have 7 minus 4, which would have given you 3. Then you would have moved on, and you would have had 9 squared, for your your exponents. You should find that to be 81 over 3 times 3. Then you do your multiplication on the bottom, and you get 3 times 3 is 9. And then 81 over 9 will reduce to simply 9. And that would be your solution for this. Alright, a couple more things before we finish up. You will have some where they want you to plug in a certain value for a variable. So in this expression, they give you a squared times 3b plus 5 divided by c. And then they'll give you certain values that each variable stands for. So in order to solve this, all you need to do is wherever you see an a, plug in a 2. Wherever you see a b, plug in a 6. And wherever you see a c, plug in a 4. And then to solve, just follow your order of operations like normal. Pause the video and see what you get. Alright, I'm going to try to do the best that I can to work this out in the green color It's a little bit of work and a limited space on the screen, so I'll do the best that I can with this handwriting. So the first step that you should have done was plug in your values for each letter. So my A, I'm going to plug in a 2. Got 2 squared. For my B, I'm going to plug in a 6, and that's not 36, that's multiplied. So make sure you multiply that. Plus 5 divided by C equals 4. So now I just need to follow my order of operations. And the first thing was the parentheses. So in my parentheses, I had 6 times 3 was 18, plus 5 was 23. And then I'm left with, on the outside, 2 squared divided by 4. I don't have any more parentheses, so I can move on to my E, or my exponent. And I do have an exponent, and 2 to the second power is 4 times 23 divided by 4. Now I'm in multiplication and division, and I have both of them, 4 times 23, and then 23 divided by 4. And I need to work from left to right. So I'm going to do 4 times 23. And when I do that, I'll get 92. Divide that by 4. And you should get 23. That's all it takes. Not too bad, right? Or at least I hope. We've reached the end today. When you're solving problems, don't get upset, don't get mad. Just remember to keep calm and remember PEMDAS. Hope y'all have a good one.